Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hopefully, you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today, we're going to do our daily technical analysis, updated commodities, work our way through the dollar yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as we go through it. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where I dive deeper into all of these subjects, looking for potential investment opportunities and sharing those opportunities with everyone in the community. I am a long-term investor. I do not trade short-term market movements, although I do the daily updates and I use them for entry points. Just a clarification. We do have a special coupon code going on. Special is the coupon code, and it gets you 50% discount on the monthly membership for only the first month and a larger discount on the yearly membership. Let's dive in, take a look. We've got the dollar here, and the dollar is coming on back. We've got some support here. It's bouncing a little bit. We'll see where this goes. We're right on support. There it is. The support underneath us now. It can drop a little bit below that line. You'll still get support as there's a lot of turning points all through here. And I do see a little bit of a falling wedge in this dollar, looking kind of like that or this. Got that falling wedge-ish type look to it. Now, a falling wedge is generally bullish for the dollar to go up if it were to break out. We also have support underneath us. So we are coming into that support. The force is starting to be less and less, and we'll see where it goes coming on up. The dollar and the strength of the DXY is generally driven by yields. Yields continue to drop. We're seeing a drop here in the 2-year yield along with the longer end of the curve. Now, when you see a stronger dollar simultaneously with interest rates going down, that can tell us that there could be some worries in the markets. So what you see is a decline in interest rates, and then the dollar will strengthen as people might shift money into the dollar as a safe haven asset. We've got the 10-year yield also dropping a little bit below support. There we are, dropping on down. And then we've got the 30-year also dropping towards support. We're on top of support for the 30-year. So we saw the entire yield curve fall, but the longer end of the curve fell more. 10 years down about 1%, and the 2 years down about 0.68%. So the yield curve actually went up. So I don't know if they're in there messing with this, doing yield curve control. I know they want the long end of the curve to come down. I don't see how many. I find it hard to believe that there's a bunch of willing buyers out there to buy the 30-year and the 10-year in the size that I'm seeing here. So it makes me think that Becent or somebody is in there doing something. TYX-TNX ratio, slightly higher today, but mostly flat, with the 30 and the 10 being quite equal today. TLT, bond prices are moving up. That's what occurs when yields drop. And if they were to go in there and buy, they have to buy bonds and shoot this up for that demand. The 2 and the 10, again, the yield curve going higher today. I know it's a really weird mix. We've got the yield curve falling, dollars up a little bit, but the yields are falling, dollars up, and the yield curve is going up. The curve is reinverting. It makes me think that they're doing something here to manipulate the curve on the long end to try to yank that long end of the curve down. Gold's up about $14 an ounce. It's holding steady at the moment. Silver's up 1.2%. Again, it's above all of this support beneath it, so makes me think that this could go higher. It looks good. It's well positioned. Everything looks okay on it. We've got platinum up $5 an ounce, and that still hasn't hasn't really broken out of its squeezing of its wedge. And you can see we're back within that pattern. Palladium down slightly, but still above support. We're right on top of it. We'll see if we get any sort of selling pressure to kick us down underneath, or if this support will hold. Cycle-wise, if we're in a slowdown, gold is going to outperform. If it's an inflationary movement that we come into, you'll see platinum start to outperform gold. Palladium generally trades a little bit opposite of the other metals. GDX is up slightly, 1.2%, but it is a bullish engulfing, and it looks good to go higher here. GDXJ, same thing, and same with SILJ, another bullish engulfing. So these actually look bullish and ready to go higher. And that's across the board for all of the ETFs for gold and silver mining companies. We're also seeing XAU outperform gold today, which is good. And we're at just ludicrously low pricing here. I think this is a huge opportunity for those looking at gold and silver mining companies. And I did release a few of my favorites on the midweek update there that I really like. And they were moving quite good today. Crude oil down 0.2%. It's holding on. Now, keep in mind, crude oil and interest rates here. Let me do this. I'm going to put the US 10-year yield on here. I'm going to put it as same scale. But these generally move together. They're not perfect, but they are correlated to some degree. And you can see we had this breakout here for oil. And I don't know if they came out and told everyone like, hey, we're going to lower interest rates. And you can see interest rates were just coming on down here. Now, is this a move at the end of trend type move where we're coming on up, consolidate? We've got a couple of consolidations there. And then maybe we've got like a retest move on the US 10-year. Let me show you the 10-year again. Because the 10-year and crude oil are very interconnected. And are we just getting a retest move here where we'll eventually break on higher? Tough to say. We need to see this continue lower. So crude oil, it has been trading sideways here. And we're just, what I mean by sideways here, I'll back out a little bit. We've been trading sideways this entire time here. We still have a squeeze to the corner because your lows are still coming down. There was lows here, and then we kind of broke out from that low and then came back. And then we've had higher lows come into this too. So we're gonna break one way or another pretty soon here, whether it's up or down. It's coming to a head. Seasonality wise, we're coming into seasonality for oil to move higher. But interest rates moving lower, it's having impact, I think. TTF gas down 6%, breaking below the lower end here. Obviously, in springtime, a lot of the times natural gas kind of relaxes. It's out of season. Springtime was here, and then springtime before that it was coming down. We've got natural gas in America down 4.4%, and we are still above support. That's the trend line support that I'm referring to, that we are above. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me, now it's playing around with its support area right now. So we're playing with it. We'll see if it can hold or if we're going to get a move lower. And again, I've showed you guys this before. We could get a false breakdown. And it's just, a lot of the times, it's the flipped move because you get the same resistance levels as you fall. So as you come down, you get support levels and then resistance, which then becomes resistance. It comes on down. And as you go in the opposite direction, you get a very similar symmetry as you flip it to the other side. So something like this could occur. The reason I think it's going to be a temporary pullback. If it's going to be a pullback, we could get a slowdown in the markets. It's very possible. And maybe we come on down here like that. Very possible. OIH also heading a little bit lower today, down 1.2. A lot of the times this size of the move is this size of the move, and we could come down here. And that's exactly what we're doing. Then we'll have to evaluate what happens after that. Newcastle Coal Futures down 0.5%, more or less chopping sideways. Momentum is still to the downside, and I haven't seen that turn yet. We are above support. Sprout Physical Uranium Trust up 4.6%. What's going on here, guys? We've got a nice little tail going on here, is what I call it. And then the breakout of it. So are things starting to turn around for uranium? It looks like it to me. It looks pretty good. At least this is a good start of it. UX1, which is the futures pricing, up 0.77%. Still in a downtrend, but we'll see if it can turn. URA up 2.1%, looking pretty strong today. Wish it closed a little bit stronger than what it did, but we could see some chopping sideways. We could still go lower. The momentum is still to the downside, but we'll see what kind of follow through we get. URANIum up 1.87%. And we do have good support all through over here. So I would expect this to start to trade sideways at some point. And then URNJ up 1.8%. And we have to see it get some support here for me to say that it for surely is 100% a bottom. But right now, the momentum is still to the downside, and we have to see it start to turn. A lot of the times on longer dated candles, you'll see a wick at the bottom of the candlestick. So that could be a potential beginning stages of a bottoming process. Copper up 1.1%. We lost some momentum throughout the day, and we're at resistance. This is being ferociously sold off at that resistance. And we are still squeezing into the corner here for copper. If we do get a recession, I would expect this to fall for copper. So this was 2008. 2001 was this guy there. This year was September 11th, coming back down, and this was February 18th. The yield curve, just by looking at these dates, the yield curve was declining, I think, in all of those instances. The yield curve has been kind of weird. We got interest rates dropping with the yield curve going up, and this is looking like it's trying to break to the upside. COPX up 0.7% today. Not much to report on there. Iron ore trading sideways, but that's broken its downtrend. It looks good to try to work its way on up, and that's another base metal. Base metal is going up. It's generally not recessionary. If you look, I don't think it doesn't have history there, but where's 2020. Yeah, it didn't really move during 2020. Aluminum still at resistance, and we are still contained for the moment. And I do expect a huge breakout at some point here. Look at all the wicks at the top, almost like this is being controlled. Almost like it's being controlled, but we'll see. Nickel down slightly, trading sideways. We've got Mu down 0.86%. A little bit of selling pressure still within the pattern here. But this has a breakout, and this is a retest, in my opinion, and I do think it will go up. Emerging markets up 1%. Weaker, I don't know if it had a weaker dollar, though. We had a stronger dollar, weaker yields. But that was up today. We had KRE slightly higher, but still chopping sideways the past few days. CAN up 2%. That's kind of, different. We've got lithium up 0.6%, sitting on top of the pattern. That looks good to try to work its way on up. We've got REMX right at support. That's looking okay. Baltic Dry Index up 3.7. This has had a pretty good move off the bottom here. I think Baltic looks pretty strong. I would have already entered here. Some of the charts look pretty good, and that's where I would have done it. Maybe even before that. XHB down 1%. This does look pretty weak. We have a rising wedge and a breakout to the downside. So we'll see if this gets any sort of momentum to the downside. And this can be a precursor to a slowdown in the markets / recession. Russell 2000 holding steady, up 0.2%. Momentum still to the downside. S&P S&P 500 steady, and it looks like it's trying to turn with the opening and closing prices of each of these candlesticks are contracting into the same price. So that means your buyers and sellers are equaling each other. NASDAQ doing the same thing, but not as strong as the S&Ps. Momentum is still to the downside for all of those. SMCI looks like there's some short covering there, up 12.23% today. But again, not a fan of the company. So, and then NVIDIA up 3.7%, still above support. Getting these big distribution candlesticks all over the place. We'll see if it holds. Bitcoin down 5.5%. Pretty ugly day today, given that we're below support. We could see further downside in Bitcoin here. We've got Ethereum down 7% as well, and that looks pretty ugly. So this is a downward move, upward facing consolidation, which is a bearish formation to go lower. So that looks bearish at this time, and we'd like to see some reversal candlesticks. MicroStrategy surprisingly up 5%, although Bitcoin is down quite a bit today, but there is some support at right where it's at. And then the VIX is down 1.7%, still tracking sideways there, and you can obviously throw a trend there, and we're kind of like right at that potential breakout there. We can also do a horizontal one, or like that, where if it starts to break above that, we could get a run higher, which means a sell-off in the S&P 500. But that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website if you'd like. We've got a question and answer session coming up this weekend, Saturday 7 a.m. Mountain Time, and then we can talk about whatever anybody wants. We can get suggestions and we'll dive into it. But that's what I've got for today. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.